It was a day when New York City buzzed with the full energy of midday, the sun painting the streets a bright golden hue. Yellow cabs honked their way forward, sidewalks teemed with people rushing to work, and every corner whispered its own story. Amidst this hustle, Keanu Reeves, with his usual calm demeanor and a special sensitivity to often overlooked details, walked at a steady pace. He navigated the urban landscape towards a familiar pretzel stand, a small escape where the smell of freshly baked pretzels always filled the air. Ms. Anya stood smiling behind the counter, a vibrant part of the city, having sold pretzels to New Yorkers for years. As Keanu reached for a fresh pretzel, he felt its warmth spread in his palm. Just as he was about to take that first bite, he froze. A shrill, panic-filled sound tearing through the air. It was a child's scream. Don't eat it! Before we continue this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special story just for you. The sound was so sudden, so filled with despair, that Keanu instantly lowered the pretzel in his hand. When he turned his head, he found a small child, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, before him. The child's face was dirty, his clothes worn and too big for his tiny frame. His eyes, wide with fear and desperation, were fixed directly on the pretzel in Keanu's hand. His small body trembled, his breathing quickened. The surrounding hustle suddenly froze. The honking of cabs, the whispers of people, everything abruptly fell silent. Ms. Anya's smile remained frozen on her face, and other people around watched this strange scene with curiosity. Who was this child? Why had he stopped Keanu Reeves? And more importantly, what was wrong with that pretzel? In Keanu's mind, a sense of unseen danger behind this unexpected warning began to emerge. Keanu leaned toward the child, asking in his deep, calm voice, "What happened? Why shouldn't I eat it?" The child's eyes trembled as they met Keanu's. He bit his lip, then words tumbled out in a barely audible whisper. It's poisoned." This word, echoing on New York's bustling midday street, seemed to cast a shadow under the sun. Passers-by paused, whispering among themselves with curiosity. "Poisoned?" Keanu repeated, frowning. "How do you know?" The child's shoulders slumped, his gaze nervously darting towards Miss Anya's stand. I just know, okay? You can't eat it. Please don't eat it." His voice cracked, that raw and vulnerable tone within him stirring a deep sense of urgency in Keanu. This wasn't just a child's prank. This child was scared, very scared. All right, Keanu said, looking into the child's eyes. "We'll figure this out together. What's your name?" "Leo," the child whispered. I wasn't lying, I swear." Keanu nodded, scanning the surrounding crowd. People were whispering, pulling out their phones, probably filming this unusual moment. Miss Anya's face had turned stark white, and she was sweating. "I don't know what this child is talking about, Mr. Keanu," she stammered. "My pretzels are clean." Keanu straightened up, maintaining his calm demeanor. "It's okay, let's not jump to conclusions." He handed the pretzel back to Ms. Anya, then pulled a $100 bill from his pocket. "Get yourself something warm, Leo. I think you need it." But Leo vehemently shook his head and said, "I don't want your money. I want you to believe me." His eyes welled up with tears, his voice turning into a desperate plea. "Please, just listen." Keanu's heart ached with the child's distress. "I'm listening," he said gently. "Tell me what's happening." These simple words opened a door within Leo. In the middle of the sunny street, between a Hollywood star and a small, worn-out child, a great mystery had begun, involving much more than just a pretzel. Leo hesitated for a moment, then began to speak rapidly, as if the words within him were a volcano about to erupt. I saw them. Last night. It was dark. There was a man behind the pretzel stand. He was dripping something onto the pretzels with a strange bottle, and then he was laughing. A bad laugh. Keanu saw the pure terror in the child's eyes. This was too real to be a child's imagination. His gaze shifted to Ms. Anya. The woman was now staring shakily at her stand, her face reflecting all the fear she felt. "Who was this man, Leo?" Keanu asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Leo shrugged his shoulders, his eyes welling up. I don't know. He had a hood on, but he kept going up to Miss Anya's stand and talking to her. Miss Anya was very nervous too. Miss Anya, as if shaken by the accusation, stammered, "He's lying. I don't sell anything poisoned to anyone. I just, he paid me back his debt. That's all." Keanu sensed something was amiss with Miss Anya's defensive demeanor. Leo's eyes weren't lying. He pulled out his phone but didn't immediately do anything. He needed to understand first. He approached the pretzel stand, still holding the pretzel he hadn't eaten. "Did you see which pretzels he was dripping on, Leo?" Leo quickly nodded and pointed to a specific part of the stand. "Those ones. The ones in the very corner." And then that man looked at me. His eyes glowed, as if he knew me. This detail sent a jolt through Keanu's mind. Perhaps this wasn't just a coincidence. Could someone be targeting this child? Or was this just a warning? The child's worn clothes and tired face indicated he lived on the streets. Leo's intense fear showed that what he had experienced was no ordinary event. Keanu took a deep breath. He pulled his gaze away from the curious crowd and focused on Leo. "Leo," he said softly, "you need to help me. We have to find this man. Did you see where he went?" Leo's eyes sparkled with hope. "I know. He went into an alley, that narrow one in the back." Keanu, ignoring the curious crowd around him, set the pretzel aside and quickly started moving in the direction Leo pointed. He glanced briefly at Miss Anya, who hesitated to follow, her face now showing more surprise and a hint of remorse than fear. Keanu knew there was a bigger story behind this incident. A child's innocence was clashing with the hidden dangers of New York, and he had become a part of this mystery. As Leo, with his small legs, tried to keep up with Keanu's long strides, they followed the sounds that were barely audible amidst the city's roar, like a whisper. Was this pretzel just the beginning of a poisoning case, or the first step of a much larger, darker plan? As Keanu plunged into the familiar labyrinth of the streets to solve this mystery, an ordinary New York midday had become the start of the most dangerous chase of his life. As they plunged into the alley, Leo pointed out, the city's roar abruptly diminished, replaced by a damp silence. The graffiti on the walls looked even more ominous in the dim light. The smell of rotting garbage filled the air. "Was he here?" Keanu whispered, trying to keep his voice low. Leo nodded. "Yes, right from here. He was very fast." Keanu scanned the surroundings with his experienced eyes. A newly drawn doodle on the walls caught his attention. An eye within a triangle. This wasn't just ordinary graffiti. It was like a sign, a symbol. A few steps further, they found a broken light bulb and a fresh cigarette butt on the ground. "He must be nearby," Keanu murmured. Suddenly, a faint creaking sound came from an old rusty iron door at the end of the alley. Keanu, keeping Leo behind him, cautiously approached the door. It was ajar. Muffled voices came from inside, as if a few people were whispering. Keanu slowly pushed the door open and they slipped inside. They found themselves in an abandoned, dimly lit warehouse. The air was heavy and musty. Inside, there were scattered chemical bottles and strange tools. In the corner, the hooded man Leo had described was hunched over with two other men, mixing something. On the table, there was a pile of pretzels. "Did you see?" Leo's whisper reached Keanu's ear. "That's the man." The hooded man's face was barely visible in the dim light, but Keanu caught a glimpse of a cold, calculating expression, just as Leo had described his glowing eyes. The men were wetting the pretzels with a liquid using small droppers. This was no ordinary pretzel business. Keanu stepped forward, leaving Leo behind. The creak of his shoe instantly silenced the whispers inside. The three men looked up. The hooded man's eyes gleamed as Leo described. They locked onto Keanu with a menacing coldness. "Who are you?" the hooded man growled, his voice muffled and harsh. Keanu responded in a calm but determined voice. "I've come to talk about Ms. Anya's pretzels. This morning we saved a child's life." "What are you doing?" The men exchanged glances, then the hooded man smiled cruelly. "What's it to you? This is our business. If you're poisoning our children in this city, then it's my business," Keanu said, his voice hardening further. "What are you after?" The hooded man chuckled. "A simple operation. This poison slowly makes people sick. Then we sell our cures. How simple, right? We've made deals with all the pretzel vendors in New York. No one will suspect. Keanu's stomach churned. This was an unthinkable plan. Is Ms. Anya with you too? The hooded man shrugged. She had debts. She couldn't refuse our offer. Leo coughed, a small choke sound from behind. Keanu's attention was momentarily diverted. Just then, one of the men next to the hooded figure lunged at Keanu with an iron bar. Keanu reflexively pulled back, but the bar grazed his arm. "Run, Leo!" Keanu yelled. "Go to the police!" Leo stumbled backward in fear, but Keanu's words empowered him. He darted out of the warehouse. Keanu was now alone against three men. His fighting skills, far more realistic than any movie scene, emerged. Punches and kicks flew through the air. Keanu used his agility to evade attacks, but he was at a numerical disadvantage. As Keanu fought a desperate battle against the three men in the warehouse, outside, Leo sprinted to a phone booth, gasping for breath. His trembling fingers dialed 911. Through ragged breaths, he whispered, "In a warehouse, poisoned pretzels, and Keanu Reeves. Help!" Despite the operator's astonished tone, Leo's dramatic account mobilized emergency response teams. Detective Miller, one of the most experienced detectives in the NYPD, was among the first responders. Miller was a seasoned officer known for his meticulous approach and for always digging deeper into cases. Meanwhile, inside the warehouse, Keanu intently tracked his adversary's movements. The hooded man's phrase, "our cures," echoed in his mind. This wasn't just a simple poison sale. It was a sinister method used by a pharmaceutical cartel to deceive the public. As Keanu sidestepped an attack from one man and knocked him to the ground, the other two became even more enraged, a deadly fury in their eyes. The hooded man reached for chemicals on the table, grabbing a dangerous-looking vial, and Keanu's instincts screamed alarm. "Don't come any closer!" the hooded man hissed, brandishing the vial at Keanu. "This is far more effective." Just then, the blaring sirens filled the warehouse. Leo's shouts could be heard. "They're here! The police are coming!" The men looked around in a panic. The hooded man hurled the vial to the ground and, along with the other two, bolted towards a hidden door at the back of the warehouse. Keanu wanted to pursue them, but a sharp gas emanating from the broken vial caused him to cough uncontrollably. The poison's effects were spreading rapidly. When the police stormed the warehouse, Keanu was kneeling, affected by the gas, but still conscious. The men had escaped. Detective Miller arrived swiftly, seeing Keanu and the poisoned pretzels in the warehouse. Miller noticed the determination and exhaustion etched on Keanu's face. Crime scene investigators collected the chemicals and poisoned pretzels from the warehouse. Keanu saw the fear and remorse on Miss Anya's face. She began to confess everything. She had fallen into the network's trap due to her debts. It was revealed that the substance dripped onto the pretzels was a slow-acting poison designed to gradually sicken people and then make them dependent on their cures. Their goal was to spread a kind of epidemic across New York and sell their antidotes at exorbitant prices. The investigation deepened, and the hooded man's identity was confirmed. Alaric Vance, known as the chemist in the city's dark underworld. He had a notorious reputation for developing illegal chemicals and biological agents. It was known that Vance had been expelled from university and had his license revoked due to unethical experiments, particularly on rare diseases. It was discovered that he had been conducting similar experiments on pretzel and bakery vendors across New York. This wasn't just about exploiting indebted shopkeepers. It was an organized crime ring targeting the city's food supply, utterly disregarding human health. Detective Miller held great respect for Keanu's experience and his testimony in the incident. Keanu began working closely with the police to expose this conspiracy. The evidence collected showed that Alaric Vance was pursuing similar plans not only in New York, but also in different cities across the country. This was a national threat. The FBI also became involved, and Keanu, alongside Detective Miller, decided to use his skills and fame to root out this mysterious network. Leo's courage had ignited this massive operation. Further investigations into Leo's family revealed that the child was the son of a long-missing drug-addicted mother. His mother had ties to drug gangs, which provided new clues as to why Leo might have been targeted by Alaric Vance. Perhaps Leo had witnessed or overheard some illegal activities while his mother worked in Vance's lab. Thus, Vance had wanted to silence Leo and eliminate a potential witness. This possibility further complicated the case. Keanu took special precautions to keep Leo safe. He found a temporary place for the child to stay with a trusted family friend of Keanu's. This family offered Leo a warm home, while Keanu and Miller continued to plan their pursuit of Vance. These dark connections from Leo's past made Keanu realize that he not only had to capture Alaric Vance, but also ensure Leo's life was completely secure. The child's innocence had unexpectedly placed a heavy responsibility on the star's shoulders. Keanu, Detective Miller, and the FBI agents tracked Alaric Vance. Vance constantly moved through New York's complex network of underground tunnels, old subways, and abandoned warehouses. Every street corner, every shadow could hide a trap. The city streets were no longer just for the daily flow of life, but also for the silent breathing of a hidden hunt. Keanu was in a real-life chase, far more perilous than any movie, with much greater stakes. The public's health was under threat from the deadly poisons in this man's hands. After several days of meticulous pursuit, Vance's trail was found at Grand Central Terminal, one of New York's oldest and busiest train stations. Keanu and his team tried to corner Vance among thousands of people, taking care not to harm innocent civilians. Vance, in a last-ditch effort, tried to throw a capsule of poisonous gas into the crowd, but Keanu's incredible reflexes and Detective Miller's instantaneous intervention thwarted his plan. Keanu leaped onto Vance, catching the capsule in midair, and Miller tackled Vance to the ground. Vance and his remaining men were apprehended after a dramatic chase. With the dismantling of Alaric Vance's network, New York had been saved from a major catastrophe. The seized poisoned pretzels were destroyed, and legal support was provided to those who had been forced into this scheme under threat, including Ms. Anya. Leo's testimony played a critical role in uncovering the details of Vance's crimes. It was also revealed that his mother was a witness who knew about Vance's past crimes and was thus targeted to be silenced. His mother was placed under police protection and provided with the necessary support for rehabilitation. The family found a chance for a new beginning. Keanu went to Leo. The little boy, safe in the arms of the police, was still trembling, but a profound sense of relief washed over his face. Keanu turned to Leo and smiled. "We did it, Leo," he said, gently placing a hand on the child's shoulder. "Thanks to you. You're a true hero. This city is grateful to you." Leo's eyes brightened. "Thank you for believing in me, Keanu." Keanu smiled. "You're welcome. Your life will be much better from now on. Always believe in the good, Leo." Keanu not only provided financial assistance to Leo, but also became his mentor and guardian. Leo was no longer living on the streets of New York, but was now under Keanu's wing, stepping towards a warm home and a bright future. Over the years, Leo not only completed his education, but also, inspired by Keanu, became a young lawyer fighting for justice, believing in the rule of law. He dedicated himself especially to defending the rights of vulnerable children living on the streets. Keanu watched proudly at Leo's graduation ceremony. Leo's achievements were his greatest reward. He ensured his name would be remembered, as Keanu had taught him, with integrity, empathy, and courage. New York's pretzel stands were no longer just a morning snack. They were also silent witnesses to a story of heroism and solidarity. Midday in New York was as bustling as ever. Yellow cabs honked and people rushed to work. But now, amidst the city's crowd, there was a major conspiracy uncovered thanks to the courage of a small child and the compassion of a Hollywood star. And that pretzel stand was no longer just selling pretzels. It had also become a symbol of hope, salvation, and the triumph of justice. Alaric Vance and his team found their deserved punishment, and New York once again showed that its people's resilience and the power of good could overcome darkness.